What's up, dog? Welcome back to my channel. If you don't already know, my name is Chelsea Dawn Kahn. Pleasure to have you here today. We are back on our emotional discovery journey, and today we are here to talk about joy. So the previous one we talked about happiness, which they kind of tie in together. So if you didn't watch that video yet, I will link it over here. My monitor's flipped, so I get it wrong literally every single time. I will link it over here. So you can pause and go watch that one just so you're in the know of what happiness is all about. But today we're going to be talking about joy. So I used to not know that there was a difference between happiness and joy, and years and years ago, I don't even know how many years it is now, like 7 or 8, I was going through a divorce, and it was really difficult. If you have been through that, you know how hard of a time it is. And I was really struggling emotionally, and I had always thought that I was such a happy person, and then I felt like I had been stripped of all my happiness and that I was no longer a naturally happy type of person, and I felt so lost within myself because of that. And so I went on this journey of self-discovery and really trying to figure out, what is the difference of happiness and joy, and how do I live a life where I am living through what I thought was happiness. But it turns out what I was really searching for was joy, and to live a life of joy instead of happiness, and to have joy be my natural state of being. And it is possible to have that. It just takes work sometime, but it's so worth it. So let's kind of break down joy and talk about that. So the definition of joy is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. For example, you can cry tears of joy. The difference between joy and happiness is that happiness lives in the mind and joy lives in the heart. So again, joy is in the heart, happiness in the mind. Joy is an overarching way of being, whereas happiness comes moment to moment. Joy is something we feel deeply inside, whereas happiness is more of an outward expression. Joy is something that exists through hard times and tragedies, whereas happiness comes when what we want is happening, or when we get what we want, whether it be like an item or a person or a job or anything like that. Then you feel that temporary hit of happiness. A person pursues happiness but chooses joy no matter what circumstances they are in. So, for example, let's pretend like it was a job that you really wanted and you didn't get. To choose joy is to still find the things in life that bring you joy even through that, and to, maybe even go as far as to say, to be able to realize and recognize that maybe that wasn't the best situation for you and that something much better is going to be coming. And to choose joy as the natural state of being, so that when hard times come and when tragedies hit, it's not just like the end game, and like life is over, because you're still choosing to find joy through gratitude in those moments. Happiness is something that happens to us. However, joy is who we are. It is a chosen state of being. We can train our brains into existing in a joyful state of being through things like gratitude. Now, for most of us, I know it's not a natural state of being. I believe that we are born with joy as a natural state of being, but through our programming in life, we're kind of taught out of that, especially because so many times in life we are taught to focus on the negative. And the more that whatever you focus on is what grows. So the more you're focusing on the negative, the more that's going to grow. The more that you're focusing on the things that you're grateful for and that actually bring you feelings of joy and happiness, the more that you're going to be able to easily tap into joy and live from that state of being. So it's really, almost a game of training your brain into something. And the more that you practice it, the easier it becomes. So repetition is very important with that. So even if you're doing like gratitude journaling, that's going to really help. Or if it's not journaling, just one thing a day to pick that you feel gratitude for, or, focus on actually doing the things that bring you feelings of joy instead of doing the things that you don't want to, that you feel you need to do, because we're so programmed by society to just always be doing what we think we have to be liked, to be popular, to feel important, to keep a job, to keep your standing in society, and realistically, at the end of the day, all of that is just a bunch of BS. And if you want to be living a life of joy, then those are actually the things that you need to focus on. And maybe it's time to redirect kind of the path that you've been going down and start to pay more attention and spend more times in the joyful things. And it's okay to reevaluate your life and realize what you've been doing hasn't been working. It's actually really important to be able to do that and to sit down and say, where is it that I feel like I've kind of gotten a bit off of course? And how can I course correct that to be going in the new direction of the life I now want to be living? Because just because something you thought was the lifestyle you wanted and the things that brought you joy like a year ago, 2 years ago, anything like that. It could even be like a week ago. That doesn't mean that has to always be the things that are important to you. You're allowed to shift and to change and to grow as a person. And I actually would encourage you to realize that growing as a person is going to require you to change things up. And sometimes on a very regular basis, and to just become okay with that within yourself so that you can redirect into the joy and so that you can create a life that you love and that you truly cherish and that you're so grateful to be able to live. And, when you get to that point, you're going to become more into a flow state where everything just flows so easily to you. And you'll start to see different forms of abundance in all areas of your life. And it's just going to make life in general easier, especially when you hit the rough patches, because it's bound to happen. We're all going to go through it. Nobody's life is always perfect and so amazing. And it's just so much easier in those hard times, especially like right now. And if you live in Alberta, we just had some pretty big announcements happen yesterday, as of today when I'm filming. But like, I was even thinking to myself, oh man, I don't really want to make this video on joy today because wah, wah. But I also think that means it's the perfect time to do it, because we all, more than ever right now, need to be focusing on those things and really shutting down the outer narratives that just focus on fear and lack. So obviously we would much rather experience life with joy and happiness walking hand in hand together. However, that's not realistic to the human experience. And note to self, in case you're not aware yet, I just want to tell you that you're actually a human. So you kind of have to have that experience. Hate to be the one to break it to you. Joy is like a gracious party host who can always hold and share space with other quote unquote negative emotions, such as grief, anger, fear, devastation, unhappiness, and so on. Happiness can't. Happiness can only exist by itself and only for short bursts of time. It's never going to be sustainable or something that lasts. One example I wanted to share, because you can even have joy for situations or other people when you don't feel it for yourself. So last year, we had a family member pass away, and it was very difficult and it was very tragic to go through. Ooh, I can't cry today because I have dark makeup on my eyes. But when it happened, this person had been struggling with their health so much. And when it happened, as horrible as it was for us in the human experience to go through, and as deeply as we were grieving, I still felt so much joy for that person because they no longer had to be going through that situation anymore and they were free. So I just want you to keep in mind also that it's not always just for yourself that you have to feel joy, and that even in moments of sadness and despair and tragedy and grief, and when you feel like your world is crashing down, you can still have joy for other people. And that's what holding space for others is for. And that's something that's really important to be able to do. And when you get to that point, you're going to be able to have such deeper relationships with others and yourself as well. So I just wanted to mention that, to keep that in mind, that we can have joy for others, even when things aren't going the way that we would like it to. So I hope that that all makes sense for you guys. I hope that it maybe helps you to try to discover those areas that you can work on to help yourself live through joy on a much more regular basis. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me again this week. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click the bell button and select all so that you'll be notified every single time I upload a video. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That's going to tell me as well as YouTube that you liked it, and it will help them push it out to more people so that we're going to start getting the message of emotional responsibility out to as many people as we can. I love you guys all so much, and I can't wait to see you on the next video. Click the all. No. Emotional. I thought I was gonna have no bloopers. I was like, wow, you did it. And like, look at me now. Emotional responsibility. I love you guys